First day in an African church. 1. The shock of the size and the new environment. For any African child, walking into an African church for the first time is nothing short of an experience. The first thing you notice is the sheer size of the church. African churches are often grandiose, with elaborate decor, towering ceilings, and sometimes hundreds, if not thousands, of people gathered for service. For children, this could feel overwhelming and intimidating. It's often the first time kids step into such a grand place, with all its unfamiliar sights and sounds. The grand procession of people dressed in elaborate, colourful clothing, the music, the chants, and the array of different faces can make one feel like they've entered a completely new world. 2. The sound of praise and worship. African church services are known for their exuberant praise and worship. The singing is powerful, energetic, and sometimes spontaneous. There's a distinct rhythm to the music, and the congregation moves in harmony, clapping, dancing, and swaying to the beats. For a child attending church for the first time, this may feel like a sensory overload. The singing, drumming, clapping, and dancing seem to fill every corner of the building. Kids might find themselves drawn into the excitement of it all, and yet they often feel like outsiders to the established rhythm. 3. The formality and reverence. For the first time, kids experience the formalities that come with attending church. The ritual of kneeling, standing, or bowing at particular times during the service, the reverent tone in the pastor's voice, and the solemnity of communion may feel strange. Every movement is purposeful, and the reverence for the space and the act of worship can be jarring for someone who is new to the environment. The formality of everything, especially the way the elders address each other with such respect, is not something children are used to. For them, it's a whole new world of cultural protocols. 4. The feeling of being too young for the service. Children often feel like they don't quite fit into the service, and the long sermons and deep theological discussions might be beyond their understanding. Many African churches have a culture of children's services or Sunday schools that are separate from the main congregation. The first time a child attends, they may feel a sense of not quite belonging or participating in the adult experience. They are excited to be there, but often confused or intimidated by the complex rituals and prayers that seem to have an adult language of their own. 5. You are seen but not heard. One distinct feature of the African church environment is the unspoken rule of respect for elders and the church leaders. Children know that they are there to observe, learn, and listen. The idea of speaking out or interrupting the service is strictly prohibited. It's a powerful form of socialization where children, on their first day, learn to keep quiet, sit still, and pay attention. You are seen but not heard. For kids used to the freedom and less formal dynamics of home or school, church can initially feel like a space where they have to constantly be on their best behavior. Last day in the African church. 1. A sense of comfort and familiarity. As time passes and kids become more accustomed to the church environment, the formality that once seemed intimidating becomes a source of comfort. They grow into the rhythms of worship, and the songs, prayers, and even the lengthy sermons start to feel familiar. The towering church that once seemed intimidating now feels like home, and the once foreign atmosphere is now imbued with meaning. For the regular churchgoer, each church service feels like an intimate gathering, not a public performance. 2. Participation in worship. One of the most noticeable changes from the first day to the last day of attending church is the shift from being an observer to a participant. Kids who were once on the sidelines watching the adults dance and sing are now up front, clapping, dancing, and joining in with enthusiasm. The church, once a space where they watched from a distance, is now a place of full participation. It's no longer about observing, It's about actively being part of the worship experience. 3. You are not too young to participate. Children who once felt they were too young to be involved now understand that the church is a place for everyone, regardless of age. As they grow older, they learn about church leadership and the many roles people of all ages can play. From singing in the choir to serving as an usher, youth are given responsibilities and tasks that help them grow both spiritually and socially. They've learned that age is not a barrier to being an active part of the church community. 4. Developing a relationship with the elders. In African culture, respect for elders is a significant value. Over time, the once distant and seemingly intimidating church elders become familiar figures. Children start to understand the spiritual roles they play and begin to form relationships with them. The elders are no longer figures to be looked at from afar, but people who guide, mentor, and show affection. Many African children even learn to value the elders' teachings beyond the church walls, seeking them for advice and wisdom throughout their lives. 5. The unspoken duty of responsibility. By the time a child has spent many years attending church, they are no longer simply recipients of the church's teachings. Instead, they come to see themselves as contributors. Whether it's in the form of giving tithes, volunteering to help set up for services, or leading prayers, the church becomes a space where they contribute in meaningful ways. The once alien and unfamiliar place now feels like a second home, where they actively shape the atmosphere. 6. Becoming the teacher and not just the student. In the latter stages of growing up in the African church, kids eventually transition into being mentors and teachers for the younger generation. They become Sunday school teachers, help organize events, and provide leadership for the next wave of young kids just beginning their journey in the church. This shift is particularly powerful because it shows a full circle of growth, from the awkward, unsure kid who attended church for the first time to becoming a guide for others. The transition from your first day in an African church to your last day symbolizes a powerful spiritual, social, and cultural journey. It's a narrative of growth, learning, and immersion in both the faith and the community. What begins as a place of intimidation and confusion evolves into a space of comfort, involvement, and belonging. Every African child has this unique experience that reflects more than just religious participation. It embodies the rich cultural traditions, respect for elders, community values, and the shared experience of worship. Whether it's learning the hymns, understanding the reverence, or simply becoming part of the vibrant church community, every step represents a significant part of growing up African.